Jeff McKee, welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. This is sweet.
Absolutely, man. I've been waiting for this for a while. We've been talking quite a bit to get you on here, so this is going to be really cool. One thing I do want to say is you were the person that I went to for advice for doing the Night of Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so nervous, dude. I think we went and got Mexican food, right?
Yeah, Baja Fish Taco.
Yeah, San Ana, let's go.
Yeah, the Lord speaks through fish tacos.
Hey, he definitely does, man. I wanted to say on here, make it public, like, thank you so much for taking the time to do that, because I was so nervous. I wanted to do it, then I didn't want to do it, and the more I stepped away from it, the stronger pull I had on my heart to do it. So it was really cool that you mentored me. You gave me advice, and you were pretty much just saying, go for it.
Yeah. I just think, during that lunch, just hearing your heart, what the Lord is putting on your heart, because there is hope, right? There's hope.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But then sitting there hearing, and you seeing this wrestling match of, I want to do this, but man, I have hesitations, and just like, man, Tim, God's put it on your heart. You need to do it.
Yeah, man. It was cool. It's cool to see how it kind of all came together. And even when there was times where I felt like it wasn't going to work, the next day I get a phone call. Hey, this person's going to donate for this. And then you can use this church. This can happen here. And how it all came together, and just the night, and me even speaking. That was my first time ever speaking like that, and just putting my heart out there. I was so nervous. Excuse me. And then I went over it quite a few times. Like, I was taking things out and her thinking, what verses am I going to use? What am I doing? I remember there's one time I panicked, dude. I was in my house, like I was sitting on my couch looking at everything I kind of wrote and went over. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. I don't do this. And I remember I still got a piece about it. And then getting up there, I was so nervous. I'm like, how am I going to speak? Because I do the podcast. I can talk to people. I enjoy it. But to be on stage and do that, it's different. But once I stood up there and I started going, it was just like a peace and a calm came over, and like, oh, we got this. Like, this is going to be super good.
It was a powerful night. I didn't know you can sing. So you're like, you did the intro, and then you stayed up on the stage and you're singing. And I'm like, man, God has blessed this guy with some skills. But.
Oh man, I sang, I wrote music for a while, did that. And then I went to the fire service. I was kind of like, I need something stable. And then I just stepped away from my faith and didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And, yeah, I mean, there's so many people that have been always told me, you need to sing again. You need to write. Like, you got a voice. I'm like, we'll see. I don't know. But that was the first time I'd sang in, gosh, probably 10 years, 8 years. I was actually doing it with a band and everything. And the funny part is none of us had ever played. Well, I had never played with them before. And that was the first time. And they're professional musicians. They actually, they do that for a living and play at churches. And that was the first time we played together. It was wild, dude. I'm like, well, they're pros, so they should have it down.
Yeah, it was good. Message was good. I mean, testimony too. I mean, especially sharing just about your brother.
Yeah.
Just powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. And it's a huge, just a testament to you and how you're there for people and what you do, which we're going to get into. I just want to say thanks, man. Oh. It's been huge. I'm so glad that we have the friendship that we do, and be able to talk with each other just about stuff that happens on duty for us as firefighters, and then just outside of work and what we're doing. And it's something special. So I just want to say thank you. But Jeff, you told me something before we started that your family, you guys make bats.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the story behind that? When did that all start? Yeah. I'm talking like wooden bats for baseball, right?
Yeah. Baseball bat. 2005. My dad, my brother, myself, we started a baseball bat company called Trinity Bat Company in Fullerton, Southern California.
Dude, Trinity, I like that name.
Yeah.
I like that name.
Yeah, it's a good one. Well, here's the thing. So wood-wise, in manufacturing, my experience was wood shop at Tustin High School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't have a wood background, but we just had a passion for the game.
Yeah.
And started this small little bat company, got approved by Major League Baseball in 2006. And that year, Vladimir Guerrero, Orlando Cabrera, a bunch of guys on the Angels started using them, and word started spreading. And
what?
Yeah, so my job was the VP, and I handled all the Major League sales. And but it was cool is in the bat company, I really saw these pro athletes that were believers use sport as a platform to share Jesus with people.
That's rad.
And
super rad.
It planted this like ministry bug in my heart that I couldn't shake. I tried to shake it. So like when you were talking about going to that lunch and you were wrestling with, man, I want to do this, but I have hesitation.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly, I know what you were feeling. I felt that a couple times when I felt God was moving, He's calling me into something.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that bat company, opportunity to see sport and a platform to bring hope into someone's life, into a sport, like into a clubhouse. It was really cool.
That is cool. How did you guys get approved? Is it being, am I saying the right verbiage here? Approved for Major League?
Yeah.
How does that work? They want to see like it's legit, like is it like measurements? How does that work?
Yeah, so the hardest part about it is getting a liability insurance policy in case the bat breaks and flies in the stands. So you have the wording that liability insurance policy has to be worded.
Wait a minute. So
yeah.
Okay, so they buy your bat and they're up to bat. They hit a ball, the bat breaks and goes in the stands. The MLB is not liable. You are as the manufacturer?
Correct. So our policy, it covers us and Major League Baseball, and the player that's using the bats. And but yeah, over this, in the last 15 years or so, there's been more research into what wood products are being used.
Okay.
Actually, strength testing. So that there's an ink dot test on the handle, and the way the ink bleeds on that, you can read the grain of slope. So if it's like 3 degrees off, you don't send that out. Because if it's more than 3 degrees, it's more likely to fail. So multi-piece failures will fail at 3 degrees. But when you put that ink dot test on there and that ink bleeds straight, then it's a good bat. You can send that out.
I had no idea that much goes into making bats.
Yeah.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't have to say a number, but I'm sure that policy has to be pretty big.
Oh, it's a big part. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. There's a fee that you pay, and there's an annual thing you pay, and I know that's gone up over the years. And,
okay.
And then the first part, when you first get approved, you have to have a letter from a major league club saying that these players from the club they want your product. So then the Angels were able to get us that letter.
Okay. How did you first how'd you get them to use your bat to get that approval?
Yeah. So we it's kind of one of those things. Vladimir Guerrero at the time, he was one of the biggest names in baseball. I did research online. I made him 2 bats, and I just kind of guessed of what model, length and weight and everything. Made him 2 bats and sent it to him for spring training. Okay. So then they'll get up, try it or whatever. So we show up to spring training, and guys are sending Vladdy 6 bats, 12 bats.
Oh wow! So there's other people vying for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and here we send them 2. So I'm just like, oh man, we got no shot.
Yeah.
There's no shot.
Well, you never know unless you try, like you did.
No,
right?
but yeah. So he ended up using one of our bats the whole spring training. Took the other bat on the plane with him opening day in Seattle. He loved them, and it was one of those things where it kind of started the ball rolling.
Yeah.
More guys in major leagues started using them. Hey, I want to try it out. Here's my model. This is what I use. Can you make one for me?
Okay.
So we would make them samples, and they would try it out, and it was the product was always good. I feel like what separated us was the turnaround time. Okay. Especially for the West Coast team. So I would go to San Diego or LA, Anaheim. I would see a lot of teams that would come in. East Coast teams would come in, and, they would stop in San Diego. I would get a sample from them. They would go to LA. I would meet them in LA with that sample bat. But yeah, it was really cool. Really fun to be a part of it.
That is so great. I had no idea that that's what you did for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, when they use your bat, you got the letter, you're approved for Major League. Do you make them, do you make a batch for a team, or is it specifically for each player?
It's for the player.
Okay.
So usually on the big league side, equipment manager will order a dozen for spring training,
Okay.
and then a dozen for opening day, a dozen at the All-Star break.
Okay.
And then depending on if they are like playoffs, then another dozen.
Okay. For each player?
For each player.
Oh, wow.
Now, they don't break that many, but they're just to have stock. You go on a road trip, they're going to take, 4 to 6 bats on a road trip for that player.
Wow.
So, if you got a guy on the mound throwing 100 miles an hour inside pitch, you're breaking a bat, that equipment manager has backup bats for all those guys.
Jeez. Man.
Yeah.
That's so what is the wood that you use for the bats?
So ash, birch, and maple. Maple's the hardest, but it's the least forgiving. So like if you're watching a ball game and a bat breaks and the barrel flies out, more than likely that's maple.
Okay. Okay.
But it's really a hard wood. The ball really jumps off of it.
Dude, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
And you guys are still doing that now, right?
Yeah. My dad and brother, they're still doing it, still manufacturing. And, Corey Seager is one of their guys, and he's tearing it up with Texas Rangers. And it's been cool. There's a couple Trinity Bats in the Hall of Fame. It's really neat. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Ben Zobrist from the 2016 World Series, one of his bats is in there. And
that is so cool. So in the Hall of Fame, it's like it's in one of the glass cases and stuff, and it has a plaque for your name too, or is it just?
No, it's one of our bats, and Ben signed it, or whatever player signed it, and yeah.
Dude, that's huge.
It's sweet.
That is pretty rad. You mean that's a legacy for your family.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, is the rest of your family, since the name is Trinity, are they believers as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they pastors like you are at any chance?
No. Plugged into the church, serving at the local church, and
okay.
Yeah, it was in a print shop is where we kind of dreamed of this, and we'd say, hey, if this is going to work, like God needs to be all in this.
Yeah.
There's 7 stars in the logo. So in the book of Revelation, God said he holds 7 stars in his right hand.
Let's go.
Like that's where we needed to be, and we wanted to be as a business, as a company.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. And still they're manufacturing bats for teams in Korea.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of overseas.
So you're international.
Oh yeah. A lot of overseas contracts, and
I love it.
Yeah. Survived COVID. I think that was the hard part for them, was getting through that. Cause all sports, were shut down.
It took a huge hit. Yeah. So would you consider that company, is that a small business, would you say?
It's a medium size. Yeah.
Size?
Medium-sized business. And yeah.
And is it just wood bats?
Just wood bats. Yeah.
Man, my God, dude, you're interesting. Okay. I had no idea. And you seem to be involved in high school sports, right? Baseball.
Yeah.
Is it being like a chaplain or a coach?
I do both. Yeah, I'm at Orange Lutheran High School right now. I coach there a couple days a week, and then also their chaplain. So we do baseball chapel in the team room, and
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's super rad. And so you're a chaplain for a fire department. How did you get into that? Because I don't even know. I know the process of trying to get hired. Right, you take a test and backgrounds and all this, get all your certifications, fire academies. But what does that look like for chaplains? Is that different for each department, or how does it work?
Yeah, well, so in I graduated high school in 95. I went to Santa Ana College. I wanted to be a firefighter, and I started taking the core classes. I'm red-green colorblind, and that was going to stop me from graduating from the academy at the time. And I was just like, I got this big old huge no from the Lord of, this is an avenue I'm not going to take you down. I was crushed by it.
Yeah, I would say that had to be kind of hard, right? Because that was probably a dream at the time.
It was a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing in the big leagues and then being a firefighter, those are two like dreams of mine. And so fast forward, I go into the print shop, I make baseball bats. I get ordained as a licensed minister through our ministry, through FCA, the sports ministry that I do now, and also through the local church. And a buddy of mine calls me out like 4 years ago and says, hey, this fire agency is hiring for chaplains. I know your story. I know your testimony.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need to apply for this. So I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. He says, no, he says it ends in 3 hours. Like, the job posting is down in 3 hours. So I just like, okay, I'll just fill this out. I didn't even submit my resume. I just like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
But okay, if God wants me to do this.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a call and an interview. And then it's like, then it hits. I'm like sitting there and all nervous, but like, I'm like, why am I so nervous? This is like a volunteer position.
I got you. Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But yeah, then they said yes. They brought me on as an associate. So then we kind of get our associates, get our feet wet and get in, start learning the language. But I felt like God allowed me to be a part of it early on, to understand the language, to understand the culture. So just enough. Like, I felt like God brought me in to understand a little bit of it.
It's like he was still prepping you, even though it was a no for one part of the fire service, it was a yes in another.
It was a yes in the other.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's huge. Wow. Now, how long have you been a chaplain now?
So 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Man. Now, as a chaplain, I'm sure, actually, I know I had a call that was very rough, and it involved a child. And I remember, I believe it was you showed up with the counseling team we had and all that stuff. We had that talk around the table, and that was huge.
Yeah.
That was really huge, because I didn't realize how much that call actually bothered me until we had gotten back. And I remember it was in the morning. I just did the check out my rig, and we got that call, and it was crazy, right? It was so much went on. It was very sad. We get back from the call, and I usually go for a run in the morning, because there's a field over there by that station I used to work at, or it was a soccer field, soccer and baseball. And that's where I'd run laps. I'd run laps and just do three miles. And I get out there running, and that call was across the street from that field. And every time I passed, I could still see the police there. And it was just, and I kept thinking about the call, and halfway through that run, I just broke down. I was like, man, this is messed up. Like, I'm not doing good. I went back to the station. I was like, hey man, we need to call him out. I think we all need to have a talk. Cause initially everyone says, oh, we're fine. And then you show up in the counseling team, and we start, how do you guys feel? This and that. And I was like, I'll speak up first. Yeah. This is not cool. This is messed up. And then you can see everyone start to open up and talk. And I think that's one of the things I've realized in being this career for as long as I have. It's like 17 years is, we see a lot of bad things. And I don't think the public, civilians, understand what we see on a day-to-day basis when we go to work. And I see that with my own family. They're kind of like, oh, you got a cool uniform, shiny red engine. It's like, it's a lot more than that. But the importance of having our chaplains and counseling team international, or just anybody that's there on call to support us and help us during those times, because it's not normal to see death and violence as much as we see it, And that's why I want to ask you is, like, in your position, I mean, you have to see that there's such a huge need for help, for hope, right? That's the biggest thing I talk about. I almost said preach, whatever. I ain't no preacher, dog. But it's the biggest thing I always say, because I see it so much with my fellow coworkers and firefighters. You can see it's not just the things at work that we see, but we take it home. And how do we process that and get it, So it's one of those things, like for you, I'm sure you see need.
Oh yeah. I think, can it be okay that someone's not okay? And it's like, even for us, so man, like, I feel like even just God's put on my heart, man, who's responding to the first responders. Yeah. And that as a chaplain, that's part of my role. So I'm not a pastor. Like, I don't come in and preach, right? So it's how do I walk alongside? How do I come in and support? How do I encourage? And in moments like those where a debrief is called, a lot of times what we've seen, the captain senses or feels that someone is off a little bit. A debrief is called. Usually when it's the conversations are going down, everybody is engaging in it. And then you kind of see some of the emotions arise. And I even feel with certain, debriefs I've been a part of, it's like years of emotions I feel.
Oh, 100%.
It's not just it's not just that one incident that happened 5-6 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's years of emotion. And, we've had people say like, hey, I've called this for someone else, but I needed it as well. And our job as a chaplain is to walk alongside, right? We're not going to push faith. We're not going to push Jesus on people. And for those who have faith, to come alongside of them, pray for them. Like when those debriefs are going on and the chaplains, them, and we're just praying our whole way through it. Because one, we want people to know, hey, there is hope. What you're feeling like is okay.
Yeah.
And then even the process of talking about it, like if it can be normal and okay to talk about things in the next, like the first 48 hours of what you guys experience, like that box in our brain becomes really, really small. But if we don't talk about it and we just say, hey, we're okay, and internally we could be just broken up over it.
Yeah.
Now that box is huge.
Yeah.
And then the next call could be, or a call 10 years down the road is what could trigger something.
Yeah, man. It's such an interesting thing because I know I struggle with that for a bit of not talking. And having the experience that I have and being on as long as I have, it's truly, I mean, there's a documentary about it, right? The Call We Carry.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's like I bury these things, right? You bury it, but eventually it stacks up and it's going to come out somewhere, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's at work, you're alone, whatever it's going to be, because we see all these things and then we come home and we're expected to be a father, a husband, brother, uncle, whatever it's going to be, a normal person in society. But you see some crazy stuff. And it's like, man, this is wild. This is crazy. It's like, how do I process it? I got to a point where thinking like, I'm helping others, but I can't even help myself.
Yeah.
It was a very helpless feeling. And then realizing, hey, I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to use what we have, the Counseling Team International, call them and get the help, which I think is great.
Yeah.
At least where we work, it's free for us, which is huge.
Oh, it's huge.
I think it's so big, it's a big deal to me because I've already convinced and talked to a few fellow firefighters. I think it's about 10 or 12, and I've gotten them to do it. And all of them have said, I should have gone earlier.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, it's needed. You have to talk it out.
Oh, yeah.
You have to get, the emotions that we have from seeing and dealing with the things that we deal with, that's God given, man.
Yeah.
That's in you so you can process. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get angry. Now, don't get angry where you're punching somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay to have some of that anger, that doubt, that letdown, the sorrow. I mean, you want to get that out because it's your way of processing, and realizing, oh, it's okay that I feel this way. It's not wrong. It changed a lot for me.
Yeah.
On top of coming back to my faith, it helped me be able to process things so much better because, I remember just coming home being quiet all the time. You're kind of like, and it's like, hey, you mad? I'm like, no, I'm not mad. But you keep asking me, I'm going to get mad.
Yeah.
But it's like, God, this is crazy. I remember a shift in my old department. I was a young medic early on, and it was probably one of the craziest shifts I've ever worked. We started the day, and it was one of the busiest rigs that we had there. We had a stroke person, and then we had someone who had a heart attack, couldn't save them. Then we had this TC cut and rescue. The person was mangled and deceased. Then we delivered a baby. Then we had a fire. Then we come back. We had another pregnancy where the baby was almost delivered, and then boom, it was 7:00. Time to go home. I remember just driving home in silence, like, that was intense, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy, But then it's like, how do I process that? How do I get to that? And realizing that we have the resources to be able to talk that out and talk to somebody, and it stays there.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're crazy that you talk to them. It's big because it used to be taboo. I would say the first 10 years of my career, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Be a man.
Yeah.
It's like, we got an issue here, right? And the
Yeah.
sad part is suicide is that number one killer now.
Yeah.
And it's sad, and I've seen it. And, because I talk about my faith on here a lot more now and how much it's had an impact on my life, it's really cool to see how many other first responders are now messaging me and talking to me and starting to say, hey, man, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with this. And that's why I'm like, hey, call this number. Or,
Yeah.
you know, let's meet and get coffee and talk and pray.
Yeah.
You know, so what you do, it has more of an impact than you think, man.
Oh,
It really does. So, but it's got to take a toll on you, I'd imagine.
Yeah. No, I have people I talk to too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll call my wife, and so I have a team of people. As I'm responding to a call, I have a team of people that I text.
Okay.
So they're praying for me, and they're praying for who I'm going into.
Yeah.
To help. And so then when I leave, I've got a good buddy that I call.
Okay.
We usually go to lunch, and it usually is Baja Fish Tacos. So
Baja Fish Tacos, baby.
I'm not contracted by them, at least not yet, but we're there a lot.
Bringing them plenty of business.
Yeah. But I'll go and meet, and then I'll debrief myself. You know, because we see so much, but it doesn't make sense. And even why? Like, why does this happen?
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and even just, I think what a lot of people wrestle with is, you know, why does God allow this to happen?
I wrestle with that.
Yeah. I think
absolutely.
There's calls that you guys see that it's just like, man, this does not make sense. And, but that's where, like, someone who's following Jesus, it's just like, okay, God, I'm having a hard time with this, but I'm going to continue to trust you.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust you. And, but you know, you said something, I feel strength in the fire service is you go back to your team, your crew. Usually it's 4 people, 3 or 4. That table, the table that you sit at, where you have a meal at, you share, like your coffee at, I feel like that's the opportunity to where it's like the informal debrief.
Yeah.
And if that could be a strength within the fire service of an opportunity to where maybe 1 or 2 people, you know, and hey man, what'd you think of that call?
Yeah.
You know, and not even task oriented debrief, but you're not trying to, hey man, you could have done this better, or, you know, right? So, but it's just, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and even just, man, that kind of rocked me a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think for us as chaplains too, things that we see, well, you guys have 7-8 calls in a row in the middle of the night.
Mm. Yeah.
And then you're not able to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that last call, I mean, my last debrief, there was 7 calls for this crew. It was all during the night, and there was a TC on the 22 freeway with fire. The person was able to be, you know, rescued, but they were all burnt up, and just, it wasn't good. You know, but it's like, and they were going hard all night long.
Yeah.
You know, and then that was their second day, but some guys were also on their third day, you know, so it's just like, you know, it takes a toll on you. So I say all that though, but man, if we can find time, maybe not necessarily within those calls, but before you go home from that shift, just if everybody's okay and we don't want to go in and have a formal debrief, but you know, can somebody, before you get in the car, you know, hey, let's just talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
You know, can we process this real quick? You know, because then I do believe then when you go home, then that husband or that wife, like now that your relationship with your spouse will be a little bit better.
Yeah.
The relationship with your kids will be a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say that. The firehouse kitchen table, I think, is such a sacred place. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a special place too, I think. Because, you know, not only can we sit there and talk things out and debrief from calls and help each other, but man, some of the best laughs I've ever had have been just sitting around having coffee, talking to my crew. Yeah. And then even learning to fix my first couple homes I had. You know, you're trying to, hey, how do I put floors down? Oh, hey, this is how you do it. You know, you go here, do this or that, or call this person, call that person, and, you know, celebrating someone's birthday or holidays there. It's such a great gathering place to commune together and have that crew cohesion.
Yeah.
That unity. It's not just talking about fire service stuff, but we talk about life together. And, you know, there's been a few guys at that kitchen table. We've shared tears where it's not just stuff at work, where they're having trouble at home.
Yeah.
They're having difficult times, you know, and you sit there with them and you walk with them through that.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because it's unique. You don't get that in many other jobs. You know, you just clock and go to work and go home. Yeah. But there's such a connection that you have at the firehouse table that's so unique and so special to me. And I like, we start our day with a coffee break. Let's be real, right? We put our stuff on the rig and then go to the kitchen table, have coffee. Hey, do your turnover. How was your shift? Hey, the day's off. How would that go? And you talk with the guys, the gals at the firehouse, and you have your conference call and do your thing. And then we cook. We do so much right there at that kitchen table, and playing cards and laughing and having fun. And it's something I wish everyone could experience. They're not really going to be able to have that. Let's be real. Most people. Yeah. But man, that kitchen table is so unique and so awesome. It's something that I don't ever want to take for granted. Yeah. I love it so much, man. There's some funny dudes in the fire service.
Oh, yeah.
They get some crazy
characters.
Oh, yeah, man. You get all walks of life in there. So you have a huge point on that, man. That firehouse kitchen table is something that can be utilized very well. Yeah. Very, very well. But something you said that's, you know, I do struggle with that. You know, coming back to my faith, but then also seeing that all that we see in the fire service, and then what I've experienced in my life, you're kind of like question things a little bit. And I tell people, to me, I'm like, it's okay to question things. You know, me now making my relationship with the Lord a relationship, personal, not, you know, religion or rules and laws. It's so different now. My prayers are different. Mm-hmm. It's not this. I mean, I'm sure there's time and place. You know, bow your head, close your eyes, do all that. To me now, it's almost like when I was reading the book of Job, you know, his prayers were rough. Yeah. Man, he let the Lord have it, but he always finished with, I trust you and I love you. Yeah. You know, and that's kind of where I'm at now, where from having a bad day or I've seen stuff, it's like, dude, what's going on? How could this happen? Like, this hurts me. I'm upset. Like, why would you let this happen? But I'm going to trust you in this. And it almost comes back to my own story, even with when my brother was killed in a car accident, seeing the pain that my family went through, especially my parents. No parent should have to bury their child. Yeah. That is just I've never seen my parents in so much pain. And to see my dad and my mom just crumpled over on the couch crying, but also praying. Yeah. That stood out to me. You know, were they perfect people? No, none of us are, right? They had their own issues, but they tried their best to put the Lord first and make sure he was first in our lives. And to see where they were then, and then to see where they are now, mm-hmm. It's a miracle. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that could do that for them but God, mm-hmm. put in their faith in Jesus. And that's something now when I look back now as an adult and seeing all that I've been through, that, you know, some things I didn't have control over and some things I did, and I totally messed up and made horrible decisions. But seeing how the Lord has carried me through those times to where I'm at now, you look back, you're like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense, but I get it. You know, it's really interesting. And even when we had the night of hope I was really nervous because my family was there, right? I love my family, right? We're always there for each other, no matter what, you know, and they know my dirt. They know. I throw it up to my mom and my sister, but gosh, it's so cool how they're so accepting and they never judge. And for them to see the path that I had been on to where I'm at now, and then I'm putting on this, you know, this event and I'm speaking. I remember they're kind of like, "Are you serious? Like you're gonna go up there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna bring it." But then to see them there worshiping and singing, and then hearing me tell not just my story but our family story and what we've been through, mm-hmm. and say, "Yeah, it was a rough road. It hurt. It was painful, and we still mourn his death at times." But we rejoice differently because there's hope. Mm-hmm. We know we're going to see him again. I mean, I said it when I was up there. The reality is none of us are leaving this or are going to stay on this earth. Yeah. Like we're all going to die. Yeah. You know, it's just a matter of when and how, right? Mm-hmm. But knowing that death isn't the final answer And we just celebrated Easter, which is so beautiful. And it meant so much more to me this year. And I'm trying to get emotional, but you know, it means so much to me more this year because I've just seen how far he's brought me and what he's done. And it's because of what he did on the cross.
Yeah.
It's because he had to die. He was that innocent man who knew no sin, became sin, died for us. And then he rose to give us hope, to say, hey, I made a way out for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's over. It's good.
Yeah.
All you got to do is accept me. You know, it's so powerful and it's so simple, but yet people think it's like, it's not, you know, it's like, oh, I want to tell you, it's so much more simpler than you think. And all I have to say, it's, you know, having that faith now and that trust has brought so much more peace, that knowing, okay, I know, you know, I hope I have a lot more time left on this earth, but I know there's going to be more tough times coming. Yeah. There's going to be trials and tribulations, you know, but I know that whatever I go through, I'm going to be okay. Yeah. It's going to hurt. He knows that pain. He's been on this earth and he lived it. Yeah. But he's going to make it make sense one day. And that to me is such a comforting piece, and, you know, for me, more of a definition of love. Yeah. That true love, that I'm going to be with you. I'm going to walk with you through deep waters. Yeah. When you're on the mountaintop, I'm going to dance with you too. And when you cry, I'm going to cry with you. I'm going to catch those tears. And so trying to make sense of things, sometimes it's hard. And I question it, but then I fall back on that faith, like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it in your hands, dude. Yeah. It's going to be okay. It's when you hit on that point, it's like, man, like, why do these things happen? Yeah. What do we do? Like, how do I handle this, you know? But I can say it from my life as a testament, like, he works it out. Yeah. I don't know how, as they say, right? The Lord works in mysterious ways. Yeah. But he does. Yeah. And sometimes I can't explain that to people. I'm like, you have to experience it. I mean, I have been at a point where it's like, I thought my life was over. Like, this is it. Like, this sucks. You know, I don't want to be here anymore. And it's like, no, man, all life is precious. He's got a plan. Yeah. You know, and it's just, I don't know. I'm sure you see it with what you do. Yeah. You know, and what you do for us. And even in you know, teaching, coaching baseball and all those things and molding those lives. I mean, gosh, I would imagine you see people struggle with that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the last couple of years too, there's a couple of families within our program, and you know, the dads are battling cancer. Ugh. You know, and it's like, you know, here's a high school kid, and you know, their hero, their dad, you know, is struggling with this, and you know, I've had a couple of them come up to me and just like, Coach, I know God's with me, but I'm just not seeing him right now. You know, like trying to hold, I could see this, you know, 16-year-old trying to hold on to hope, trying to hold on to something. And it's like, man, okay, hey, he's there. You may not see him, but he's there. And let me walk with you. Yeah. So, and then, you know, that was last year that conversation happened. And then this year with the same athlete, it's like, Coach, I'm reading the book of John and I'm in God's word, and, you know, I'm plowing through. Like, I want to follow Jesus, and I want to be as close as him as I can. Yeah. You know, and, you know, the dad's still struggling with cancer, you know, and still fighting it. And, you know, it's like, but man, I see this youngster, this young man, you know, like following Jesus, you know, and like, man, following Jesus is hard. You know, I'm 48 years old, and following Jesus is hard. Like,
it ain't easy, dog.
It's like a white knuckle ride, and it's just like, and then, but that's where it's just like, true. God, I'm just, so that 16-year-old boy in me, of hearing that athlete say, I am not seeing God in this. You know, I've had multiple times in my life, you know, my wife and myself, we didn't have kids after 4 years. We had 2 miscarriages, and one of them was really, really late. Oh, and rough. It just totally, it rocked us. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, God, I'm going to trust you in this, but like, I'm having a hard time understanding. Yeah. But I'm going to trust you. Yeah. You know, and God has blessed us with 2 girls now. I mean, they're 18 and 20. You know, but so then I get a phone call from a fire captain 2 years ago, And well, he wants me to come to the firehouse, come have coffee. And he would strategically call me, hey, can you come and have coffee around the table? He wouldn't tell me why, and he wouldn't tell me for who I was coming for. But I would hang there, and then somebody would follow me to the car. And, this one individual, he was struggling. His wife had a miscarriage. It's just like, so I'm like, internally, like I'm nodding my head, and he's like, I don't know if you know how I'm feeling. I say, I do know how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I know how it is to try to process my own feelings and then also support my bride, right?
Yeah.
How do I support her and her feelings and deal with my own feelings?
Yeah.
So I know how you're feeling. And so to say it's, and I still get emotional, like when I talk about that, those years, but, God has done some work through that to where, man, I know how it feels, as a man, as a husband, when I feel like something happens to our wives like that, we almost, because we want to help. We're fixers, right?
100%.
Like, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
Well, God's not saying, he's not asking us to fix it.
Let's go. I like
He's asking us to trust him.
Yeah.
He's asking us to trust him. And even, we've had conversations with our girls, would I be here if you had two miscarriages, if you didn't have a miscarriage, would I be here?
Yeah.
And it's like, I have no idea, but you're here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this was a part of God's plan for our lives. I'm here, you're here. So I just think, man, and we try to make sense of it. But sometimes I feel like we can see, you get 20, 30 years down the road. Okay, God, I can kind of see why you allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
Like me getting the no for the fire service, but then 30 years later, God's allowed me to be a chaplain for people in the fire service.
Yeah.
He brought it full circle.
Yeah.
If he'd have told me 30 years ago that this was the plan, I would have messed it all up.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I would have messed it up.
Yeah.
But there's times to where, and I think I shared this with you when we went to lunch. God doesn't waste things.
Let's go, baby.
Where we feel that, man, I went through 2 years of San Diego College to pursue the fire industry, and I wrestled with that for a long time of 2 years. Okay, God, how are you going to redeem these 2 years?
Yeah.
And I've come to realize that he doesn't waste things. Even our trials that we go through, even our questioning, do you think of a diamond, the amount of pressure that's on that coal, right? And then it becomes a diamond. What we do at the table at the firehouse, we drink coffee. In order to drink that bean has to be like picked, right? So pulled off of a tree, roasted in fire, and then ground up.
Right.
Right. And then poured hot water over it, and then you get to taste it, and it tastes so amazing.
Right.
But what that bean goes through to get to that. So I'm like, man, my life is like that coffee bean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's times in my life where I don't understand it, but when you're brewing that coffee, and you just smell it across the room, and like that's my life. That as we follow Jesus, those are things in our lives. It may not make sense, but man, God, I'm going to trust you. Yeah. I'm going to follow. I'm going to trust you.
Well, look at what is done in that, those miscarriages.
Yeah.
And that firefighter that followed you out to the car.
Yeah.
I mean, how correct are you saying he doesn't waste things, right? Yeah, that was a difficult time.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I've actually been through that. It's hard.
Yeah.
That is a difficult process to go through, and especially, for the female. But I just know as a guy, it really was hard to not be able to help, do anything. It was just kind of like, well, I'm here, like, gosh, and you want to be able to take that pain and help them get through that. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And the hopes and dreams you had for that pregnancy and that child, it just feels like it's just shattered, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like you're helping somebody else. And to me, those things like that plays into eternity.
Yeah.
That's priceless, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, you're literally counseling somebody who's going through a difficult time that's going to hopefully start relying on the Lord and change their life.
Yeah.
And help them get through a trial. I mean, goodness, what more can you ask from somebody to, you know, live like the Lord did and just minister to people and help them? I mean, because the reality is everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really realized. I'm like, wow, I recently had a firefighter from a local department reach out to me yesterday. And we've been friends. We were friends a long time ago. I honestly forgot about this guy, and not to be rude or mean, but time passes and people move on and things. We hadn't talked in probably 15 years. And he hit me up out of nowhere, sent me a text message, and he said, "Hey, this is such and such." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you know, hey, how's it going? This and that." And, you know, that's probably a loaded question, right?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
You have talked in 15 years, and boom, long text, right? I'm going through this, and this is what's happening. And, you know, going through a divorce. We've just had our first child. This is happening at work. I'm stressed out. I'm just like, wow. And this person, honestly, I never would have thought. This is someone that kind of like the top tier, always does well. You know, life looks like they're doing great, and you're just like, whoa, dude. And I remember I just immediately called him. And we just chatted for a little bit. I'm like, hey, man, there's nothing I'm going to be able to say to you that's going to really bring peace to you right now besides just, you mind if I pray for you? Mm-hmm. That's the best thing I can do for you. But I told him, I've been there. I know it's like go through a divorce. That's terrible. It's a hard thing, but it's not the end.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I promise you it's not the end. If I can make it through that and the other things I've been through, you're going to be fine. But is it going to be a hard time? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very difficult. But you have somebody that loves you more than anyone in this world will, and he knows what you're going through. He knows that pain. You just got to tell him, man. Talk to him.
Yeah.
And then hearing him break down the phone and then praying, and you know, he texted me this morning. He's like, man, I'm so glad I called you. He's like, I was listening to your podcast and you said you came back to your faith. He's like, you're the first person I want to talk to. I'm like, man, I appreciate that. But I'm like, I'm a nobody. I ain't perfect. I still have my own struggles, but you know, finding my faith again and be able to minister, or, you know, talk to people and not force anything on them. I'm not about that. I'm not about like, you know, turn or burn, you know, but it's like you said, just be there.
Yeah.
Let them talk, walk with them through it. You know, have that empathy and realize, my goodness, dude, people are hurting.
Yeah.
And you want to tell them, I have the answer.
Yeah.
I got it for you. But it's that thing where it's so hard because you don't see it, but you got to have faith. But he's all around us, you know? And you want to, it's like, sometimes I still struggle with that, but it's like, if you just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let him work. Let him do what he's going to do. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool to hear him say, like, I finally felt a little bit of peace. He said he slept good last night finally and trying to figure that all out, you know. So it's really cool to know, and it's me agreeing with what you said. He doesn't waste anything. Yeah. And like when I think back on my life and what I've been through, it's so true. How many people I've been able to just sit there with them, as someone calls it the pit. You know, be in the pit with them. You know, like I don't say a word usually. I just sit there. Like, yeah. I tell them, we don't have to talk about any of it. If you just want to hang out, like, let's go to the beach. Let's go surf. Let's grab coffee. Let's go back to my house, watch comedy, whatever. And they usually just start talking, and then you just let it out, you know? And, you know, to me, that's special. Yeah. I think to have some people that you can talk to and trust. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, is that trust. You know, you're not going to just spread it out to everybody. You can trust them with that pain. Yeah. Special. You know, to me, that's very special, and it's very hard to find that nowadays with people. So to know people can trust you, it's huge, right? Oh yeah, it's big. Oh, we protect our underbelly, right? Yeah, yeah, we do. It's you know, we protect it, and I think when I first became a chaplain, you know, like I'd show up to my stations. I had a big old bag of coffee. I love Hidden House, and the cool little spot in Santa Ana, but. The owner was a military guy and believer. Yeah. So like, you know, just try to, I want to encourage guys at my stations and, you know, and kind of meet them, you know, and
So I would drop off coffee for them and just really try to connect. And it was the start. It was the entry phase kind of that of building trust.
Yeah.
Because I felt like even for a while, guys weren't calling. Like,
Yeah.
it was quiet. But then I knew, like, okay, my guys in my area, they were still going on some of these hard calls. And but the more I would show up and just even to get to know, some of the BCs and stuff. And, it was just, I don't know, time and being consistent, show up, with chaplaincy is a ministry of presence, like
baby. Okay.
if you want to be used by God, and show up.
Yeah.
Like there's been times to where I've had opportunities to show up and, God's just like, okay, here you go. That I've had an opportunity to show up. We had a fire captain pass away of cancer more recently. I had an opportunity to go to the hospital with one of our other chaplains and be with the family. This last Christmas, the chaplains, we just got like numbered badges based off of the number of chaplains that have been within our department.
Very cool.
My badge number is 27.
Okay.
27 was the last station that this captain was stationed at.
Oh, wow.
When I showed up at the hospital, the captain's mom was there. I didn't know his family or his mom. So as soon as I walk up, I ended up seeing this lady that, had a hat on, and I just gave her a hug, and it was this captain's mom. And she looks, and she was like, 5'6". I'm like 6'3".
You're a very tall man.
And her like eye level was right at my badge.
Yeah.
So she looks at it and she says, 27. She said, was that the station you're at? And I said, no, ma'am. I said that, that's the chaplain badge. I'm a chaplain. And she says, my son was at station 27. Wow. And she says, I love number 27. Now, some backstory about my badge number. They asked me what my favorite Bible verse was, and they wanted to put the Bible verse on the back of our badges for all the chaplains.
That's cool.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite Bible verse is Psalm 27:1. And the whole time, like, I didn't know I was a 27th chaplain in the history of our department.
Yeah.
So this mom is struggling the loss of her son, and she's asking, like, she's wanting hope, like, and she's locked in on number 27. Yeah. And she said that 27 is her favorite number. And I said, 27 is my favorite number as well. Yeah. And I said, my favorite Bible verse is Psalm 27:1. And she like looks up at me and she says, what is it?
Beautiful.
And I just said, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Baby. Whom shall I be afraid? And the whole time she asked, can you stay with me?
Wow.
So, and it was a special moment. I mean, they had a code honor in the hospital. I had an opportunity to walk with this family during this time. And it was just, this mom was just, so locked in on number 27. And, here God even flipped it around, gave me an opportunity to share a scripture verse with her. It brought her hope. And then she asked if I would stay with her the rest of that time. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah. But it's ministry of presence.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not showing up, then I don't have that story and how God uses number 27 and then I had no control over that number. Mm-hmm. No control over that number.
Gosh, man, isn't hope is such a powerful thing. Mm-hmm. Powerful. I mean, I sometimes wonder how do people make it without having faith in Jesus? That's what I want to know, because I've been there, and to me it's a dark place. Yeah. I mean, my goodness, you'll cling to certain things. It'll just take you deeper and farther down a dark hole. Yeah. And I just wonder, I'm like, gosh, that's why I was so big on hope, telling people, hey, look, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope to get you out of these issues and these problems, to get you through the pain. I mean, just to be there with that family, I'm sure that just probably meant the world to that mom. Because no parent should have to bury their child.
No.
It's a terrible thing. But just to be there in that presence with them, I mean, it's so powerful and it's priceless.
Yeah.
That's my goodness. That's what the Lord tells us to do, right?
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
I know.
But it's really interesting too, that kind of the times we're living in. I've wanted to kind of ask you about this, but gosh, just the state of our country, not just our country, but the state of the world. I mean, what you hear preachers talking about a lot about Revelations. And I mean, I do think the Lord's coming back. Is it tomorrow? No man knows. The Lord doesn't say that, but gosh, it does seem like things are lining up. I don't know. I've always wanted to kind of ask you about that, what your thoughts are on that, if you have anything to say about it, because I guess I gotta say is we're living in wild times, man. I mean, to me, we make Sodom and Gomorrah, we put them to shame. Yeah. That's my thought.
Yeah. No, well, Scripture says you're not going to know the time, right? The day or time of when he returns.
Right.
So how do you respond to that? The response is to be ready.
Yeah.
Right. And like, is your bags packed? Are you ready? Do you know where you're going? Are you saved? So I think that's the first thing, is because, even the smartest Bible scholar, they don't know.
Right.
And only God knows. But yes, when you turn on the TV, it seems hopeless, right?
100%.
It is scary. He has to be returning soon. But we're not going to know the time, right? We're not going to know the day and the time.
Yeah.
So I think, man, it's like, for me, it's just it's a major call to action.
I agree with you.
It's how, like, is there one more? Is there, Hacksaw Ridge, right? Is there one more?
One more. Just give me one more.
Just give me one more.
Yeah.
And I think, it's just, man, I don't know. It might be one more person that says yes, that says, I believe, to where when he returns. But so my dad grew up in a Christian home, and my dad was like, this was, 50 years ago. He's, man, Jesus has to be returning soon.
Yeah.
And
that's what I grew up with too.
Yeah. So I think, and even now, but it is true. Each day, the next day we see, it's like, it's even closer.
Yeah.
But I personally, I'm not getting locked in on trying to find out when it is.
Same.
I just I feel like I'm ready. My family's ready. But there's more people.
There's still work to do.
There's more people who don't know Jesus yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that's the mission.
Yeah.
That's what God's calling me to my mission field is athletics right now. I get opportunity to walk along as a chaplain within athletics, within the fire service. Now I'm also a chaplain for the police department in Santa Ana PD. And
oh, dude, that's huge.
Yeah. So it just came down in January. And so now it's just like, man, to walk alongside of first responders. And, so it's been this like, man, how could I walk alongside of people who are seeing things that seem hopeless, right? So how could I help bring hope into the room?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I took all the news apps off my phone. Most of them. There's like one I keep, but it's just because every time I put it up, I'm like, God, people are terrible.
Yeah.
And you just look at it, it's like, good Lord, what is going on in this world? But you bring up a really good point of there's still work to do. I pay attention, I read those things, and I kind of grew up in a Pentecostal home, and, Revelations and end times was a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. He's coming back. Like, cool. But I seem to pay attention to it a little more just because of what's happening around the world. And even like, what was the other day? They made yesterday transgender, like something. I can't remember what it was. So I'm like, really? Like, of all days, you got to do it like on Easter.
It was on Easter, yeah.
Like, come on. Like, and I'd say this. People can make your own decision. I'm not one to judge because I have plenty of faults. You can love what you love, do what you want to do. But I was just saying, like, you will be accountable to it one day. Everybody will, But of all days, like, we gotta do it on that day.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that's been coming up on all these feeds: the eclipse? That eclipse that's coming. Gosh, people are pulling on that so hard with conspiracy theories and other things. I'm like, look, man, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. Just be ready. That's why I would say, just be ready. But I've noticed the more I talk about my faith to people and it becoming a little more bolder with it, the more I'm noticing more people are starting to kind of come back to their faith as well. They're like, I actually started doing this and reading this a little more, and my family's gone back to church. Blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, why? Look what's happening in our country. Look what's happening in our state. What's happening around the world, that people are kind of nervous. I'm like, well, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's almost like bad is good, good is bad. There was I think there was a preacher, I think it was on the East Coast. I don't know if you heard about this, but I guess he went to an abortion clinic and prayed, and he put him in jail. Wow. Yeah, I'm like, interesting. Now, would I go to abortion clinic and pray through the halls? Probably not, but I would still, pray for these people. But that seems wild to me. Yeah. I don't think, like, what did the guy do wrong? Yeah. He's just praying for people. But it's really, to me, it seems like more people are starting to come back. Yeah. And there's more of a bit of a revival kind of happening on. That's just my opinion. Yeah. From people messaging me and talking to me. I mean, people that I've known them for a while, and I've never had that kind of talk with them or told them what the Lord's done for me or how I've changed my life. I just kind of live my life the way it does, I do, And then they say, hey, man, by the way, I just became a believer. And you're like, you? Like, what? It's like, oh, no, you're cool. Like, I get it, because my family thought I was a mess, and they didn't think it was serious at first, but it's cool. I'm actually, it's exciting to me, the times that we're in. Yeah, there's madness going on, but there's also a lot of kind of awakening happening with people. They're realizing, hey, like, we need Jesus in this world, man. It's crazy. Yeah. There's a lot going on, and they're worried about their kids. Yeah. Their family, what their kids are being taught in school, what's being forced on them. Like, again, like, I don't care what you do, but why do we got to force them? Like, how much do I got to play along with this? Yeah. So it really does seem like there's kind of an awakening happening, a little bit of a revival, and it's cool to somewhat be a part of it, and to see that happening. And that's why I really hope that Night of Hope, it becomes an annual event. I really want that to turn into something and get more people to come and have other, Christian bands or speakers, whatever it's going to be, because it was so hard to find someone to speak, and that I thought was going to connect with people. And that's why I was like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I'm just going to go for it. It is what it is. Yeah. I believe that you're just scratching the surface for the First Responders Night of Hope. I really feel that first responders, they need hope. Yeah. Whether you're following Jesus or not, whether you're a person of faith or not, you need hope. Yeah. And I believe hope is a person, and his name is Jesus. But I don't know. So the first night, right? Walking in, I just felt there's something different here, and I felt like people were coming into the room, with burdens, because life is hard, and walking in, and it's like, man, I'm not alone. Yeah. I'm not alone. I'm not alone in what I am carrying. I'm not alone with what I'm struggling with. Yeah. That there's other people, that we're all in this together. We're going to encourage each other. We're going to get through it. Yeah. I think you mentioned earlier, Easter, right? The cross, the grave, the empty tomb. The tomb is still empty. Yeah. So I can still today run and see the tomb is empty. Jesus is alive. He's alive, and the promise is that he's with us. So when we don't know what's going on, when we feel like we're going through this, or whether it's cancer or divorce, or, I had a cousin who took her own life. It was 35 years ago. She was a believer. She was schizophrenic, manic depressant,
Before all this, she went to Christian school, went to Bible college. And this was even before like just the mental health knowledge that we have now.
Yeah.
But she took her own life. She felt like that was what God was calling her to do.
Wow.
And there's still hope. Like I was sitting with my family in Arizona, of like just mourning of what happened. And like in the midst of that, there's still hope. But man, like, can we get to somebody before that happens?
Right.
Can we get to somebody before that happens? Can we get to first responders before that happens? Can we be the catalyst that lowers that percentage?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe, I believe if more people respond, if more people show up, ministry of presence, and someone knows that they are not alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not alone. And because that alone piece is what leads people into a bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's how I felt for a while.
Yeah.
Alone.
But really, if you were to take a step back, you weren't alone. You had people around you.
Yeah. I secluded myself.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
It was a conscious decision. And you know what it was? It was the guilt and the shame. It's like, oh, I don't want to, like, look what I've done.
Yeah.
I can't be around my family. They're too, like, they're believers, like they're realizing they still have their issues, but it's like, they're too perfect. Like it's embarrassing and just cutting everybody off. And that's when I take a dark dive. And it was such a bad place to be in. And you're right. It's just being there with somebody, the presence. And, I recently have a family member that's going through a hard time. And I was like, no, like you're not going to, now is not the time to be alone. Now is the time to spill your guts to us. Don't feel the shame. Don't feel the embarrassment. Like all of us here have our own issues and skeletons and things that we've done. You're not going to shock us. Yeah. Like we love you. Yeah. Tell us what's going on. Tell if it's something you did that was wrong, it's okay. Yeah. We're not going to judge you. Like we've all had some bad decisions, but that's the thing I love about my family is we come together. Yeah. We put everything else aside and we don't say what you need to say. Yeah. Because we're going to figure it out. We're going to be there. And that hope is hope. I thought about this the other day. I was at work and it was the night before Easter. I was working Saturday. And it was, Good Friday just happened. And I thought about this, Jeff. Jesus died on that Friday. Boy, what were the disciples and what were people feeling on Saturday? Mm-hmm. How hopeless you think they felt? Yeah. Even though Jesus told them, I'm going to be raised again on the third day, right? But they just saw someone get tortured and murdered. I mean, unbearably on a cross, which probably had to be traumatic in itself. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, that's it. It's over. Saturday comes. I wondered, I'm like, boy, I wonder how they felt. Yeah. How that must have been to experience that. Yeah. And even, when the women went to the grave and running back, he's not alive. No, he's here. Yeah. He's here. And then boom, he appears and it's like, yeah, touch these wounds that I've had. I'm alive. But I always thought about, boy, I wonder what that was like on that Saturday. Yeah. How dark it must have felt for them.
I know. Bob Goff, I love Bob Goff's quotes, and I follow him on Twitter. But he has a quote, something along the lines of, so on Good Friday, like Jesus's followers scattered, darkness fell. It was chaotic. But then heaven just started counting to 3.
Let's go.
So it brings hope to me, right? Mm-hmm. God was still in control of that. Yeah. Because in the garden before, Jesus asked, man, if there's any other way, God, Father, can there be any other way? Yeah. But he knew there was no other way. It was a part of their plan from the very beginning. It was a part of a rescue plan for me, for you, for everybody. Mm-hmm. But so the Roman soldiers, they thought they were doing something good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But then heaven on Friday, man, heaven just started counting to 3. because 3 days later he rose from the tomb. And then he started appearing himself to everybody and that he was alive, you know. And Sunday morning, man, I always think about, so Mary and Martha, right? They were the first two that run to the tomb.
Yeah.
You know, and then word got, and then the disciples ran to the tomb to see for themselves. And, you know, and I'm not a fast runner, man. But I picture myself, right? That would be the fastest I'd run.
Oh, the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Isn't it Peter said like,
It was Peter.
Yeah. I made it there first.
Yeah. He is the athlete.
Yeah. Dude. He had to put that in. I think that's hilarious. I'm like, you had to throw that in there, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'm faster.
Yeah. Well, what's so unique too, you know, is when they look in the grave, you know, he folded the garments that he was in.
Yeah.
I always find that so unique. I was like, I wonder why he folded it. I wonder what that's about, you know? It's really interesting.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know. This is just my 2 cents, you know, from a Santa Ana kid. And my 2 cents is that if someone took them, they're not going to fold. They're not going to fold his clothes.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
But if it was part of a plan, right?
Yeah.
And if the stone was moved from the inside out, which it was, it wasn't moved from someone from the outside to come in. It was from the inside out. And so in here, it was Jesus, right? So he's going to leave it right there.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude, it's gosh, I'm trying to get choked up because it's so, he did it for us, man.
Yeah.
It's a brutal story.
Yeah.
It's very harsh, that type of death that people don't know. Like if you really do the research, I remember reading into it, man, I mean, you can't, he was unrecognizable.
Yeah.
At some point, you know, he was beaten and tortured so much, and then to rise from the dead and bring that joy, that hope, the salvation, like you're redeemed, it's over. The veil's torn, you can come to me now. And I remember telling somebody, and I've heard this so many times, like that stone in front of his tomb wasn't rolled away for him to get out. That was for them to look in and see like, hey, it's complete.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so miraculous, man. And my favorite line, it's in the book of Luke when, you know, Mary and Martha were there and they saw the angel, right? One, if I saw an angel, bro, I'm so glad they always say, do not be afraid, because I'm a scary person. I get jump scared real quick, right? You see something that magnificent, I'm going to run. So the fact that they even just stayed there and started talking, right, is amazing. But he said, why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's not here. Yeah. He is alive.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, when he says, why are you looking for the living among the dead? Like that line, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's redemption.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he finished it. He did it for us. Like he made a way out. We're going to be okay. Yeah. It's, dude, I'm just going to hit this bell now, dog. Because there's a song by Phil Wickham. It's called Sunday is Coming. Oh, yeah. And I love listening to that because he builds up, you know, in that song, and he has that line in there. Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's alive. He's alive. Hallelujah. He is alive. And when I play that, I blast it. Yeah. I blast it because it's a promise that was fulfilled, and all his promises are true. Yeah. You know, it's such an amazing day, and it's the greatest day in history. Yeah. Greatest comeback of all time is what I always say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, big time. Yeah. I love worship music. It's my go-to. Yeah. Worship music's my go-to. I definitely feel like that, man, when I'm having a day. Yeah. That Phil Wickham's on the list. Yeah. You know, the new, the Matthew West, Don't Stop Praying.
He's good.
That's another good one. Yeah. I Speak Jesus. There's some really good Christian music that's out. You know, I find hope in that.
100%.
Yeah. It's God's word, that's being sung. But yeah, I just think of, man, when I'm questioning things, I'm struggling with something. That's my God's word, prayer, and then worship music. Same. But yeah, I think just, you know, coming out of Easter, those who are following Jesus, we get to live our lives like every day as if it's Easter Sunday morning.
Oh, I love it. That is so true.
That's the game. Like that's what we're doing. We're following him every day. It's like Easter Sunday morning.
Gosh, where I've noticed just from playing music and writing music, a lot of times where words fail for me, music takes over.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to have lyrics. I can just listen to music, and when when something's good, it doesn't matter what style, what country, where it's coming from. When you feel it, you're in it, dude. You're like, oh yeah, this is good. You're jamming, you're doing your thing, and it's one of those things for me. Like worship music, just the hope that it has in it. It's reminders.
Yeah,
it's a reminder like we're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
you're good, and it's also for me during the tough times or questioning or I'm down. It's a way of me to remind myself to give him praise and to acknowledge like I'm hurting.
Yeah.
And this is hard, but I'm going to sing.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going. I'm still going to be in your presence right now. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
This is not cool, but I'm going to be in it. We're going to go for it. So I agree with you. Do it 100%. 100%. But Jeff, we got to wrap this up, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Are you going to be involved with your family's company making bats still, or no? You kind of all the way out?
I'm all the way out. I still go and support them. I still stop by.
Okay.
Hang with my dad and brother over there, and I still look for the bats on TV. Like I can't watch the game the same, but But I definitely am rooting for guys that are using the bats. Gavin Lux, with the Dodgers, and
that's super cool.
Corey Seager with the Rangers, and but.
Oh,
it's fun.
I'm happy for your family. I think that's unique and so cool. And man, keep going, dude. And what you're doing with being a chaplain and supporting us, it's priceless, man. Amen. I can tell you just from the time you came to the station, when we needed you, when I needed you, and then just meeting up with me and being a mentor, it's meant the world. You may not see a reward now, but I'm telling you, it'll be probably tenfold in the next life. So please keep doing what you're doing, man. Be there for us. I love you, dude. Honestly, you're becoming such a good friend. I'm thankful for you to come on this podcast. I actually hope you come back on, which would be really cool. Bring another chaplain. We'll chat it up and talk. But Jeff, thank you so much, man, for being here, coming on, mentoring me, and just being who you are, man. It's very inspiring. It really is.
Yeah, I love you, Tim. Keep up the good work, man. Yeah, you just scratched the surface of the First Responders Night of Hope, and how I can partner with you and encourage you, and keep up the good work, and keep responding to people's bad days, and know that there's a team of people that are praying for you, that will walk alongside of you.
I appreciate that, man. You're the man, bro. I got a challenge coming for you too. But hey, we end every podcast with a let's go on 3. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what you just listened to, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. Please follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And a big shout out to Stephen Clark, our sound editor. He's a huge part of this team that is unseen. It's 89 Barbers, our first sponsor. Look good, feel good, be great. That's 2 locations, Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Book your appointment online, 89barbers.com. Bye, everybody.